Hello and welcome to the Real Deal Trio podcast, where we dive deep into the world of real estate, business, and personal growth. I'm your host, Yahya Chatani, joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Mohit and Phil Mariani. Together, we bring you a wealth of knowledge and expertise to help you navigate through the complexities of the real estate market, unlock business success, and cultivate a life of balance and fulfillment. So get ready for insightful conversations, actionable advice, and also a whole bunch of inspiration. So let's dive in.
What is up, everyone? All right, so you heard our new intros and new outros, so let us know what you guys feel about that. So we're gonna jump right into it. So how's your day going, Jaya and Phil?
Bro, my day was pretty starving. It's the second day of fasting officially, and
That's right. You have
I don't know how you
Ramadan
do
right now.
that's I was gonna attack Phil for that. I'm like, dude,
I don't know how you do it.
bro. So let me make it even worse. So because it's an ethnic thing, right? We in Pakistan, there's no sense of nutrition when it comes to fasting. People eat the craziest things. They're,
Nutrition? What's nutrition? They throw that shit right
oh my
out the window.
So Phil's gonna have a heart attack. I'm gonna make it worse for him, right? So think
Oh my
about
gosh.
think about this, man. You haven't eaten all day, okay? You're starving for like 12, 13 hours, and the first thing you do is you put spicy, fried, high glycemic index, like diuretic type of foods with large overheating portions in your body, and then that's your like fast break. It's it feels like it's a train wreck. If you did that, how do you think that would impact the body, man? The fun of it.
Oh man, I feel like my muscles getting smaller just talking about it.
So that's the challenge, bro. Because I mean, I started the morning. I'm like, okay, what do I eat? I try to eat like 5, 6 egg omelet,
hmm
and maybe have like a sweet potato or something. But sometimes, dude, waking up is so hard that this morning my wife gave me a glass of milk. She's like, drink it. And I was like, I don't want to have it. Like, drink it. I'm like, fine. I drank it. And we had smash burgers to break our fast. Like,
Nice.
so, but no, seriously though, like as you've been in fitness for a long time, right? You've been
Yeah.
so if
Oh yeah, since 1999, but started working out since I was 16 years old.
oh dude, so perfect person to ask. So for anybody who may be fasting, who's listening, or even for myself here, right? On a serious note though, if I haven't eaten all day long, what should be the first thing I should do to break my fast to not adversely impact myself?
Protein and some type of complex carb is the easiest thing to do, is what I say. That's what I do. I start my morning with some type of lean protein like egg whites or something like that, and I go with a complex carb. Either I make like an egg white omelet with rice or oatmeal or something like that.
So what you're saying is don't be eating donuts or
Now
fried
that's bad
things.
because then you're really going to whack your pancreas if you're talking about high glycemic indexing.
That's what I'm saying. Awesome, awesome, man. So from all fun aside, though, we were just offline, right, guys? We're in the green room, so-called green room, and we hit a topic about home inspections, and we thought it'd be cool for us to dive into that in the podcast, right?
Well, specific
Yeah.
specific home inspection, the VA
Mhm.
home inspections, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
we've
because
all dealt with VA loans
Mhm.
and VA home inspection. So we're all going to give our little opinion on it. But you started off this topic. You asked a question out to Phil. So go ahead and give him a little background on what we were talking about and what why this topic came up in the green room, and then we'll go from there.
we were just discussing that I am currently working on a VA loan with a client who's a friend of mine, and being a veteran, of course, he knows a lot about these loans too. Not his first rodeo. And it came to the inspection part, and I'm pretty serious when it comes to inspection. I think you should never, ever give it up. It's very important. A lot of things like mold, faulty wiring, leaks, all these things can come up and cost you thousands to save a couple of $100. Something very unique about a VA loan is that appraisal is unique. It's a little more stricter, or say a lot more stricter than an FHA. And if the property does not meet specific standards for the VA, then they do not give a CTR or basically approve the property, like a notice of value. So my client, who's a buddy of mine, says, "Hey man, you know what? I think I could save a few $100 and not do the property inspection and do the termite, which is, by the way, mandatory for any VA loan if you're doing it. And the appraiser is going to catch like 90% of the stuff anyway. So why not let him do that?" And I was like, that's pretty genius. Like as an LO, I never thought about that, but that was pretty cool, Phil. What do you think of that?
VA appraisers just in general, they're we have a love-hate relationship with VA appraisers, I would say, because they definitely look after the buyer.
All appraisers, not just VA,
They look
all
after the VA.
appraisers.
but they look even more. The VA appraisals, they're like little little Nazis, you know. They definitely know. They definitely go the extra mile.
By the way,
And
guys, if there's any appraisers listening, we didn't mean it in a bad way. Don't hate us.
no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because they really look after the VA
Yeah.
buyer. They definitely make sure. I mean, most of the time they find wood rot, you know, so they're definitely to take care of. But I mean, I don't know. I'm 50-50. I really never seen them go to that extreme, to take the place of an actual home inspector. So again, I would, it's not mandatory home inspections, but we highly recommend them is always to our clients. So we say, hey, listen, it's not recommended. It's not mandatory. We recommend it. It's really their decision, but it's up to them. I would say their home inspector probably is, going to cover a little more than that though.
I agree. They are very, very stringent. They are very, very thorough. I've ran into more of the stringent and strict kind than I have the more lenient kind. Don't get me wrong. We've seen a couple of lenient ones be like, hey, I have to do this, I have to, you know, take a look at this, that, and the other, and I'll mark it okay because it's not a big deal. All you have to do is move this to this area and it'll be fine. And I'll take a few pictures and we go, okay. I'm like, that's it. That was my first experience with it. I'm like, man, VA inspections are easy, bro. Not knowing the
Well,
ones
listen.
after that are gonna get a lot more tougher. Man, they nitpick the entire house, rodents. They look at rodents inside the roof. Even if they see a small smidge of like wood rot, dude,
Yeah.
Dude,
they're gonna fail
I'll
you
tell
right
you,
there.
we had a transaction where there was a little bit of paint missing on the garage door.
Yeah,
And there was
peeling, little paint peeling.
Yeah,
but you see, that's my point though. Like, here's my shirt. If everybody on camera can see, veteran mortgage. I love VA loans for this reason, guys. You see, the whole purpose is we're all here to educate, empower, and enlighten our clients. Most importantly, look after their interest. When you're spending, especially spending like millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you want to make sure your team is looking out for you. And I think this was pretty cool because, like Phil mentioned, it's not mandatory to do a inspection, but it's
right.
absolutely important because if you dive a little, let's say FHA loan, right, something a little less stricter, even then, before you actually have an appraiser go out, an inspection can save you some time and money. Because here's what happens. Let's say Phil is the listing agent, Mo is the buyer's agent, and the inspector goes out, finds a couple of things, and we look at it, and we're like, ooh, this could be a problem for the appraiser. Because he's going to look at it, come back, and then say, hey, I need to re-inspect this property because these things need to be fixed. Guess who's paying for that re-inspection? The buyer.
Exactly.
So if we could save you an additional $100, $200, we would love to do that. So it's like a, love-hate relationship. Like Mo said, there's a balance there.
You gotta find
So
the balance, yeah.
exactly. So if you are an experienced homeowner who've done this multiple times, you're confident the home is in good standing, it doesn't seem weird, you want to take a risk, cool. But it's not a bad idea because it's only a few $100s, really. It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal.
Because what'll happen is if the VA appraiser does find some issues with the home, then they'll submit a subject to appraisal is what people want to know as well. They'll get a subject to appraisal, and then they'll have to have those items fixed. They'll have to come out, re-inspect, because what we want is a as-is appraisal.
Just so we know a little more, and since you brought this up, Phil, explain what to somebody who's listening right now, what does subject to appraisal mean really?
The appraisal is approved subject to repairs. So whatever the appraiser puts on the report that needs to be fixed, whether it's wood rot, paint peeling, if there's some type of termite issue or something like that, which commonly we find is wood rot. More on older homes or wood frame homes, but again, it could be a combination of things. I've seen, like most said, we've seen paint peeling, just that cracked cement or siding as well. So if they submit a subject to appraisal, then obviously those items will have to be fixed before and then re-inspected to get a as-is appraisal in order to move forward and get clear to close.
Right,
Awesome.
right.
Thanks, Phil.
Now,
That was
this
very
is this is
insightful.
something I haven't done. I don't know if either
Yeah.
one of you have done. A VA loan on a condo.
Yeah, it's done.
Mm.
Yeah. Have you guys
I've
done any of
never
those?
done that.
I've done one of them. We don't
Yeah.
get, for some reason, I think a lot of veterans I've worked with don't really buy a lot of condos.
Yeah, I mean, that's also subject to our area, right? We focus on less of a condo area. Now, if you were down in South Florida or doing more loans in South Florida, you'd think you would have more VA loans going into a condo.
True. True.
Yeah.
I would
Now
think so.
also
Or
too,
areas that are beachfront, that have condos.
Yeah.
that would be a good question for you. Yeah. So obviously, in order to qualify for VA, that condo meeting would have to qualify. FHA or VA would have to be on a vendor approved list in order to qualify for that financing, correct?
So there is yes and no. So there are a few things with condos. There has been a lot of changes recently. Like every week we receive new guidelines for them. But
And it's getting
typically,
very, very more complex to get into a condo.
and we'll go
Mhm.
into that because I think people need to know this. You know, it's very important because condos
I
are
think
very
we could do a whole episode on just condo
yeah,
purchases.
we'll touch on it.
Yeah.
We won't go
Yeah,
into it.
we won't dive
But I
into
think
it
just
today.
just a mild tap because you brought up a very good point, Phil. You know, the approval thing, because recently condos seem very deceptive. The pricing seems awesome, but then as you get in the contract and you start finding out the approval and the CPM and the condo management and this and that, it suddenly becomes a war zone.
Oh, yeah.
And it's there's so many people involved in the transaction that a 25-day close can now become 45. You
Mhm.
almost lose the buyer and the seller. It's very complicated. But to
Yeah.
your question, there are spot approvals. If a condo is not approved, you can get it approved. You have to submit it, but it pretty much comes down to the basic things like the budget, the insurance,
Right.
the HOA, how is it, and that this and that. But most often, you got to look at their balance sheet. You got to look at any litigations if they have any, if their budget is or reserves is very important. So those are the major things. And if it's a non-warrantable condo, it kind of puts it out because you can't really do a agency loan on those.
Which, just to bounce off of that, I actually have a condo right now. I got a 3-bedroom, 2.5 condo in the Tampa area. And right now the condominium association has no reserves. So we can't do traditional commit. It's only non-warrantable loan
Yep.
on it or cash. So it's very difficult because it knocks out a lot of buyers.
Exactly. And so to get into that a little more, I'm glad you brought the non-warrantable thing. So I recently did a loan where we had a buyer who submitted an offer on a non-warrantable condo. And we were doing a regular non-QM loan, but we select different lenders, right? So we have brokered banks where it's like, hey, more paperwork, cheaper loan, less paperwork, more cost, because it's more risk to a lender. So they'll either increase your points or increase your interest rate, or on the other side, if you're trying to get the cheapest price, the lowest interest rate, they're going to want to see more things to mitigate that risk. So the buyer has this DSCR loan, she's putting 30% down, get a
Right.
DSCR rate for 7.75%, which is pretty crazy, pretty cool rate.
Yeah.
We get to the condo part and it's not in the CPM, it's not warrantable, but we cannot get a lot of document from the condo team. Although they're great, but the response times are so slow and they don't respond after 3:30 p.m. that it takes us longer. So we lost 2 weeks because of chasing paperwork. But finally, we got the approval. And it was right at the edge where the seller was mad, the buyer was mad. The only thing keeping the buyer loyal was the interest rate. But like you said, I think if anybody out there is looking for a condo, please make sure you talk to people that know how to do condos. There's a difference between, hey, my company can do condos versus I know how to do condos. Two different things,
Right.
not the same.
And maybe just break it down for those that are listening, so they understand. Because maybe some people might have not. Hey, what is a non-warrantable loan? Maybe just kind of give it in layman terms what
Sure.
that would be.
So a non-warrantable condo is basically a condo that cannot be warranted, that cannot be proven. It's not in the system. It's not Fannie Freddie approved, which Fannie Freddie are basically agencies that purchase mortgages. So I'm sure everybody who's ever bought a home, when you buy your home from your lender, or sorry, from the seller and you close on your mortgage, a couple of months down the road, your mortgage gets sold and you receive a letter in the mail. Oh, Mr. Cooper, Dr. Cooper, whatever those companies are, or American Mortgage, are now your new mortgage servicers. That's when a mortgage is sold on the secondary market. When it's done, somebody's buying it. So the lender is offloading their risk. With a condo, if it's non-warrantable, it means that agency, Fannie Mae, is not going to buy it. Freddie Mac, that's the other one, is not going to buy it. And Ginnie Mae, which is the government for VAs, is not going to buy it. So if nobody's buying it and the lender is stuck with it, now their money is tied up. So they can't issue more loans, just to give you perspective. So now what they want is they want to offload this hot potato. So when you have non-warrantable condos, you have a different set of investors. They're called non-QM loans, which is a non-qualified mortgage. Typically, rates are slightly higher because the risk is different. You have higher down payments ranging from 15 to 45%, depending on the type of program. And there are some upfront fees. And you can get the deal done, but that's the cost associated with it.
Right. Yeah, that's why usually townhomes, I usually recommend, listen, there's a lot more involved with condos. Townhomes are usually, easier for financing, especially for the first time home buyer.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, absolutely, hands down. I think townhomes are beautiful because a lot of times the association, it doesn't have that much power on it, and we don't need to check for reserves and budgets and all this thing. We just
Right.
need to get that. There's a document I forgot. What is the document that we get from condos? Sorry, from townhomes, the HOA document.
Oh, like the master insurance?
That,
Like
yep,
the
that's it.
insurance,
That's it. Just
yeah.
like one or two things. There's nothing crazy there.
Right.
Yeah. And I know why we have 2 townhomes, so as investment properties, so.
Mm. All right, sounds good, man. I think it was a good discussion on home inspection on VA side. I think we'll dive in deeper on home inspections in general and why we think it's important and why
Share
it's
some horror stories.
yeah, let's share
Oh, yeah.
some horror stories, some good stories, and some stories and some tips and tricks that we do to help ensure that the buyer or the seller is getting the right information from the inspection report, right? So they're not reading too much into it, or they're reading too less into it. So we got to look into that as well. So we'll dive in deeper. But I think the main topic for today was health and fitness. You guys touched on it earlier with health and fitness, because you're fasting and Phil does health and fitness,
I couldn't fast.
and I like to eat. And I like to eat. So, well, I used to be big in health and fitness, huge back in the day, as me and Phil used to go to the gym together.
That's where I met him.
Yeah, we used to go to the gym together, so that's where we met. I used to be fit, trim. I got muscles. I mean, now I just got fat on top of the muscles. They're still there. It's just fat on top of the muscles.
We call it the COVID weight, right?
So a
The
lot of people
COVID, right?
lost a lot of weight and started working out during COVID. It was a flip effect for me because before that I was in good shape. I was eating right, being healthy. I was doing actually the keto diet,
Oh,
which
wow.
I was 3 years into the keto diet, and I went from 260 pounds to 155 was my lowest. But then I got
Dude,
back.
that is
Yeah.
insane.
Oh yeah, before and after is crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was insane. It was insane.
wow.
Yeah, and then I went from that to hitting COVID, and then I was like, you know what? Gyms are closed. Let's bring on the carbs. Let's
But
bring on
dude,
the carbs.
Seriously.
that's pretty big though. You were dedicated for 3 years to do that, man.
I
Like
was
that.
dedicated for 5 years to do
Oh,
that.
wow.
5 years straight. I was dedicated. Yeah.
Bro, that's hats off to you, man. That's
Yeah.
I think the consistency part of working out is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Staying committed to it. And even if you work out 3 days a week, doing that consistently for 5 years, that's a pretty big accomplishment, dude.
But when I was working out, we were really working out. I would sometimes do 2 a day. I would go with Phil sometimes in the morning or in the evening, but I would sometimes go the opposite time. Like, yo, bro, I'm going in the morning and then I'll go in the evening. And Phil would be like, you're crazy. It's like, what? First of all, we're gonna need to find you some leads. That was in the beginning, in the beginning of my career.
Like, get you busy
rock and
making
roll
money.
here.
It's like trying to be Rocky Balboa over there. It's like,
I was like, hey man, if I don't get leads, I'll get them at the gym some way, shape, or form.
no, but dude, still, that's pretty dope, man. Like, that's
Yeah, and definitely in our mind, in my mind, I always feel like, okay, I got to take that next step and start over again. But you just have to take that step and start over.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think you're right about the COVID thing, man. Like, I think COVID kind of helped me a little.
right, it did a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people it gave motivation to go work out.
So I actually got COVID. So I finished work. I was selling cars at the time.
Right.
And I have a great day. I'm not feeling anything. I go home. One of the managers is like, hey, don't come tomorrow. I'm like, am I fired? He's like, no, are you crazy? I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. Things get out of hand sometimes at work. Maybe I did something. Like, no, you might have COVID. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I'll go check it out. I get checked out. Yep. Turns out I get a positive. I did a second text the next day just to make sure, but I still got it. So now I have to separate myself because me and my wife, we're like, okay, so I had the master room, which had the patio door. So I had my gym there, but then it was boring. I'm like, I can't just keep working out all day. Like, I got to do something. So I'm like, I have a kayak. I can go fish. And I'm off for 14 days. Nobody's going to ask me nothing. Dude, the best vacation of my life was when I had COVID. I was eating lean meat, losing weight, working out, and I would just be floating around in a kayak in Florida, bass fishing. Just literally, I would sleep in my kayak, let it float around, and my line's in the water. I'm like, oh, I got a fish. Dude, I'm telling you, that was the coolest experience I had.
Yeah, we went from the gym to we went to bicycling in the community with the family, and
Yeah.
then I had a one client that I would train twice a week in my community. We went from the community gym. We were training right out of his garage. It was pretty cool.
I
Yeah.
think
It was doing
COVID
lunges
did.
right in driving.
Yeah, I think COVID brought a new side in all of us, or sparked a interest that was layman inside of you, or just sitting dormant and like, hey, you know what? I know how to do this, but going back into that hobby and doing it all over again. COVID, I think, sparked that interest on a lot of
But
people,
I just thought about it, dude, looking at my hair. I think COVID, the people
or the
that got
lack thereof.
the people that got, I think, the hardest hit in COVID were barbers, dude.
Yeah,
Because everybody was like shaving their head, like it's like just taking trim. There was a whole thing,
there was a whole thing about it. Yep.
right? Everybody's bald. I'm like, okay, I like the community sense of this. I hope it lasts.
I
But
mean, I was buzzing my hair in the shower.
that's what I'm saying. Like everybody did that. And when COVID finished, a lot of people that I knew that were, hairstylists were out of business. Because
Yeah.
you go to your barber, it's like an interaction. You know what I mean? You're
Mhm.
sitting down, you're having a
The
conversation with
therapy
them.
session.
Yeah, it's like they're talking to you. You can say any bullshit you want. You're not gonna see this dude for another month, whatever. You know what I mean? But then you don't, and you got to now learn this new art of trimming your own beard. So it was an interesting event, man.
Yeah, so that's what you did. So during your COVID time, and then, right now, what does your day look like as well? I know Ramadan's going on right now. So what does your normal day outside of Ramadan look like as far as your meals and your workout regimen?
Nowadays, I work out late in the night because with the kids wake up early. And if I get to sleep somewhere at 10, 11 p.m., I'm probably going to wake up at 6 with my daughter or 7. So I barely get time to work out. Start feeding them, getting breakfast. I'm eating. My breakfast is normally 6 eggs with about 1 or 2 yolks in there. That's the omelet. I would have either an avocado or bread or some other type, or potatoes, some roasted potatoes, easy to make in the air fryer. That's like the most important thing for me. If I don't eat breakfast, dude, I'll be biting people's heads off.
Very important breakfast.
Bro, I wake up with my gut sucked in. I'm like, oh, I need food.
Mhm.
But then lunch is typically either chicken or nowadays it's fish because I've been going fishing every week almost. So I got a snook, like about, if you don't know what a snook is, it's almost like a perch. And it was like 5 pounds. Got a few of those legal limit ones. Can catch only one a day. So I had to keep one, but trouts, you can get 7 or 8. So every time you go, load up the fridge. And that one fish, dude, I think a 1.5 pound trout is roughly 130 grams of protein. So my daily intake is only 140, 150. So I'm good with those. Typically, lunch and dinner is leftovers. Whatever my kids are not eating, I'm eating that. It's scraps. But that's the food routine. Workout, sometimes 9:30, 10 p.m. I do 10 of 10. I don't know if Phil probably knows what that is, right? It's volume training. I do 10 sets, 10 reps. So I'll do 100 pull-ups, 100 dips, 100 chin-ups, 100 push-ups, do like 3, 4 of those and call it a day, man.
Yeah, same here. I mean, definitely breakfast is the most important part of the day. Studies show speeds up your metabolism by about 30%, which is very important. Get the day going, obviously, to give you the energy. But typically, same thing here. I usually, because of just a busy, hectic schedule, I usually do my weight training at night. I go to LA Fitness here, local in the area in Winter Garden. I usually go at night, somewhere around 8 o'clock. I usually close out. It closes at 10. So I usually close it out. And then I try to get some cardio sessions on a bike in my community gym here in the morning time or afternoon time, wherever I can sneak it in. So I get that balance of, nutrition, weight training, and cardio. And obviously, I just did funny that you said about nutrition. I just meal prep today. I was telling Mo that, hey, I said, I'm in the middle of finishing my chicken and I got a client that texted me, say, hey, I want to see these homes today. So I was trying to, go back and forth. We were supposed to go out and look at some new construction, me and Mo. And I said, oh man, I'm not going to make it. I'm still finishing my chicken. But I made about 12 meal preps today. I made 10 chicken and then 2 with fish. All my meal preps consist of 1 cup of jasmine rice steamed and about 1 cup of steamed broccoli and 6 ounces either baked chicken or baked fish. And this week I'm using orange roughy. If anybody's familiar with that, it's got a nice butternut taste to it.
Bro, that's the thing that's a challenge for me right now because I want to do that. But man, like you said, the timing of it has been, I got to figure out a way to get better at it, man.
What does your gym routine look like, Phil?
Same thing, Jim. I do split up the muscle groups. I'm a old school bodybuilder type trainer. I've competed in 6 shows back in the day, so I still kind of follow the old bodybuilder routine. But I usually split up my muscle groups. I'll do just, chest one workout, I'll do back, I'll do legs by itself, but I'll do, multiple exercises like you was talking about volume training, but instead of doing multiple repetitions, I kind of like, will, do something like, maybe 15 reps on the first set, 12 reps on the next one, 10 reps, and kind of, increase the weight. So I'll do like that, but I'll do 3 or 4 different exercises
Oh,
for
you're
the
doing
same muscle group.
drop sets, right?
Not dropping at the same time, but like the first set will be 15 reps, and then I'll go heavier, go then 12 reps, and then go heavier on the next set like that.
Oh,
But
nice.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes if I can't get enough reps, then I'll just drop set it and I'll rep out a few more reps. So it's always just trying to keep the body going from plateauing and stuff like that. But and then abs, I just throw abs in almost, every workout or so. I'll just jump on the ab machine. I'll do 3 or 4 sets of abs and just kind of just, get that in there.
Phil is intense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
gotta go. We gotta talk about when you were doing bodybuilding training. What did your workouts and how much working out and how much did your diet change to what it is today? Obviously, now it's a little bit more lenient today. You're not working out. You're not doing performances and doing these competitions. But when you were, what did that week or day or month look like going up to the event itself?
yeah, typically off season, you're definitely, you're eating, a ton, plenty of calories to try to, gain muscle. But usually when it comes to like a contest prep, I always did like a 90-day prep. So once I got, 90 days, then that's when, you're still doing your training, you're still training hard, but as you start the dieting, then you start, carb cycling or really going lean with your protein. So pretty much just, really low fat, and there's different ways of doing it. But what I was doing, obviously there's some, different sciences and, where different people's bodies respond differently. So for me, it's always been like a low fat, carbohydrate diet with a cycle of carbs. In other words, maybe I would do like 250 grams of carbs or 300 grams of carbs one day, and the next day 250, and the next day maybe 200, kind of just cycling carbohydrates. And then there's different things where before like the last week of prep, I would do no carbs for like a couple of days, just try to deplete the muscles of all carbs, where it'd be just strict protein and like veggies, no carbs. And then I would carb load for maybe, a few days prior to the show. And it was kind of just amazing how like you just see your muscles and your veins start popping and stuff like that. And then I do like a cycle with water too as well. We start, kind of pulling water and the morning of like no water, maybe just a sip.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does pulling water mean?
I'm trying to get the water that, between your muscles and your skin, when you drink water, when you're hydrated. So you're kind of almost kind of getting yourself slightly dehydrated
I see.
if you want to call, where you want to pull the water out between the muscles and the skin so you get better definition. And you kind of do that by, kind of, depleting, the water, or you cycle water, maybe you go a certain amount. I would do like a gallon a day, and then like a half a gallon, and then like, kind of,
And do you take like any specific diuretics to help you with that, or you just stay natural?
Yeah, there's times where I did that, where you can take a diuretic if you feel like you're holding some water, take a diuretic. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like there's a whole science to it. And it's been a while since, I said my
Yeah,
last
because
show was
I saw that, man, because they take like there's certain things, non-stimulated ones, there's some simulation ones, there's like some, but that requires a lot of dedication though, honestly, man. Like
a lot. Yeah,
these
it's like a part-time job.
talking about productivity and stuff, right? Like it's consistency. Like you did that for 90 days. You had a goal in mind, then you executed, you performed, and no matter how you feel, then the feelings didn't matter. The goal, the purpose, the work had to remain. And I think in today's society, I don't know how everybody feels here, but I feel like we've got a little soft. In the days back then, it was a little bit more, you got to do it or you don't get it. Not everybody was a winner, because that removes the competition, and which is a good thing, right? If I compete with you, it's nothing bad. It's like, okay, I got to work on this. You got to work on this. Like when we used to box and you're throwing the ring with your partner, if your jab is weak and the other guy's jab is strong and your hand is low, you get smacked in the face. It's the only way you learn, there's no other way. So now you're standing and you're like, oh, I'm going to jab, I'm going to throw this hook, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You go back and you still get smacked. Okay, I got to change something. So now it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of leeway. Things are a little bit more relaxed. There's not as much dedication that used to be. Like if you see, it's like, it's okay to not do this. It's okay to be unhealthy. Like, I don't know what you feel, Phil, but I grew up in Pakistan and Asia, Malaysia. I lived there for 11 years. And when I moved to the US, the craziest thing I've noticed, it still bugs me. When you take any food item that is processed, you turn the package around, you see 50 ingredients. Like in a yogurt, why do I need to put gum and weird stuff and soybean oil in a yogurt? It's supposed to be milk that's turned into
Like 4 ingredients tops.
like not even, man. Like yogurt has 3 things or
Yeah.
2. It's
Yeah,
just
and so if you want it salted, you could have a little saltodium in
okay.
there. Yeah, there you
But
go.
that's flavor, right? But my point
Exactly,
is, if
exactly.
I pick up a pack of yogurt and I gotta now be like, oh my God, like what, like
What's all this stuff?
what else all this stuff? And it's crazy. Like I find it only in the US, and American milk is banned in 17 European countries. They don't sell that.
It's because
Right.
it's heavily processed, so
Heavy,
it can sit on the shelf a lot longer. It's supposed to have some shelf life, and that's the reason.
right? Is it that's don't you find that scary a little, man? Like imagine
Oh
like
yeah, it's
somebody
absolutely
like
scary.
Phil, like, dude, you're health conscious. I mean, I'm not as
Yeah.
dedicated as you, right? I'm a little, relaxed in that sense, but it still bugs me, bro. Like I was making Italian food, look at a bottle of pesto. Have you ever seen sunflower oil in pesto before? Like, I'm like, dude, $9 for this bottle of pesto with
So
sunflower, cottonseed oil. And I'm like, that's a disgrace to Italians, man. Like, you put extra virgin olive oil, Parmesan cheese.
that's why you go to Mama Mariani and you get the pesto from Mama Mariani.
One thing I love, growing up, I'm probably the oldest out of 3 of us here. So growing up, one thing I had to say, being an Italian family is, my mom was, for the most part, was a stay-at-home mom. And the cool thing back in the days, we didn't have all these fast food restaurants like we do today. When I was growing up, one thing I really appreciated is every night my mother had a home cooked meal on the table.
Yes.
And that was the
Yes.
difference between, today,
Yep.
everything is processed in fast food, where back in the day, every night we had a protein, we had a vegetable, whether it was a vegetable or a salad, and we had a starch. My mother always used to make baked potatoes. And so I ate the same way today as I did back then, and that was the way to eat. Always had a protein, a starch, and a vegetable.
There you
And
go. A
if we went out
balanced
to
meal.
a fast food restaurant, it was like a diner, so it was like a treat back then. That was like, wow, the family was going out to like, a diner, that would be a treat. But that was the difference, is today is, we had, we were eating healthier, natural, home cooked meals back then.
It's also accessibility, like you guys both mentioned. Accessibility is such a key part of what we do on a daily basis, right? Accessibility to anything, especially food. Fast food is so accessible
Mhm.
that it's like a no-brainer. Like, hey, I'm hungry. What's the first thing you see is a McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, all this other stuff. But you don't see that tucked away salad restaurant that's been suffering in that corner in that plaza for like 6 years.
But you
Right?
think how crazy this is. So I'm just thinking this, right? Let's say Taco Bell, one of the lower end food products, right? It's cheaper. How does a Taco Bell burrito, how much is it, like $2 or something like that? Some ridiculous price.
$4 now.
So $4. So if you went and bought an organic potato, which is like half a pound or 1 pound potato, that would cost you $1.50, right?
Yeah.
So how is it that a packaged, delivered in a paper bag with all the processing, all the employees, all the stuff with minced meat, beans, sour cream, foil wrapper, all this is $3.99. But if I go and buy 2 pieces of organic vegetable, like Phil is saying, let's say I get an eggplant, right, to make eggplant parmesan, that's going to cost me more, just a vegetable, than a protein starch, this whole thing wrapped and picking up from a store, which is paying its bills. How, like, it, when you really think about it, it's like, how does that make sense? And I eat this, and I'm on like this belt going towards my death. Like I'm slowly dying. It's like saturated fats, nothing good. It's all bad stuff processed. My immune system getting weak. And now I'm trying to eat this one eggplant that was grown in dirt, which is organic as dirt. Like cow manure. It was naturally comes, nothing fancy. But I gotta pay $4 for a dumbass eggplant to eat this with some cheese to live. It's like, man, it's ridiculous how when you think about that.
That's why I food prep and I take my food with me. That's the only way to do it,
food preps and stuff like that. And the other thing is, remember that these Taco Bells and McDonald's, they buy these things in bulk. So these
Bulk, yeah.
meats and this cheese and bread in bulk, just like your grocery store. And we're buying that, like you mentioned, that potato that was $1.50 or whatever it is. Remember, they also have employees. That Publix has employees. They also have, a light bill. They have staff. They have, real estate, all that stuff that they have to pay for too. So that's why that potato is $1.50, and Taco Bell, where there's 6,000 Taco Bells versus how many Publixes? To 100 Publix?
I don't know how many Publixes are there.
Yeah.
Publix is pretty
I'm just saying a
popular. Yeah, I
ratio.
know,
The
just
ratio
thinking,
is,
yeah.
is out of this world, right? Like from a fast food restaurant to a grocery store. So
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, there's so many. This yeah, the economy doesn't make sense. The math is not mathing.
But that's the beautiful thing though, man. Like
Yeah.
if you really think about it,
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing about being here is that you have access to things plus knowledge.
Yeah.
And you have to self-educate. Like nobody's gonna watch out for you. You got to make your decisions. You got to educate yourself. You got to find a book. You got to find it, read it, hang around people that believe in it, and
Right.
then do the work. Like I think we've become so much of a how do it's instant gratification society that I want things
Yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah.
Now is the most expensive word in the English dictionary. The most
Yeah.
expensive. It's like that example you guys have probably heard. A bottle of water at Walmart costs 90 cents. You go to a restaurant, it's like $2. Go to a plane, it's $4.
What
The
about
only-
Disney?
Right? It's
Yeah.
like $8.
Your left
But-
pinky.
But see, that's my point. And we are ingrained now with this mentality. I need it, I want it, I must have it now.
Instant.
That's it. And that is taking away that thing that Phil, I think you have as a strength, is delayed gratification. Like you can't build muscles by
Yeah.
taking a shot, man. Even if you take a steroid, you gotta put in the work.
You still
still
got to
have
work
to,
hard,
yeah.
man. And
Still
yeah,
have-
you don't just take a steroid and then you just gain muscle. It doesn't work like that. People
Yeah,
might think. You still
Exactly.
got to work hard
You
and put the
gotta
time
work
in the
hard.
sweat,
Not
blood, sweat,
that
and tears.
there's no miracle drug for that yet.
No,
Good old fashioned hard work, man. That's
that's it. Just
I-
grind it
You'll
out.
have to put in the work.
grind it out. That's awesome, man. I'm glad we did this today, and we had some interesting things. We
Yeah,
went
good
from
conversations.
fasting to home
absolutely.
inspections to bodybuilding to nutrition to instant gratification. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I enjoyed this.
A
To VA
balanced
inspections.
episode. A balanced episode.
No, I love it, guys. I think the three of us being here is really cool for our audience.
Yep.
Three different people, different perspectives, and I think Phil adds a really great pillar here, because I think health and fitness is a big deal in today's world, where we have so many influencers. I'll make fun of this because if you go on YouTube, not YouTube, Instagram,
Instagram.
you'll have some people like, don't eat eggs, they're bad for you. The other guy's like, don't drink water, it's bad for us. Like, dude, what do you want me
Where
to
do I
do?
go? Where do I
Yeah,
go?
for-
What do I
it's
eat?
like
What
for
do I
years they were
consume?
saying don't eat the yolk. Now they say to eat the yolk, don't eat the yolk.
Exactly.
years.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything in balance, right?
Everything in balance.
moderation.
That's it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Real Deal Trio podcast, where we dive deep into the exciting worlds of real estate, business, and mastering that sweet life balance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us continue delivering content that matters to you. Stay pumped for our upcoming episodes, jam-packed with expert insight, game-changing strategies, and Florida real estate. For more exclusive contents and behind-the-scene action, follow us on Facebook, search for The Real Deal Trio group page, and for Instagram at The Real Deal Trio Pod. And for YouTube, search for The Real Deal Trio Podcast. We will have all these links to our social media account and some more in the description. We would love to be your go-to experts for all your real estate needs in Florida. Shoot us an email, realdealtrio@gmail.com. Until next time, keep balancing the hustle, the deals, and the moments that make life truly extraordinary. This is the Real Deal Trio podcast, signing off.